All right. Good evening, everyone. The time is 6:01. Got to get used to the echo in here. The time is 6:01 p.m., and I hereby call this meeting of the Student Senate to order. We'll begin with a roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. Moran, Rahman, Rolls, Reinhardt, Marcus, Jones, Helzer, O'Connor, Chin, Utica, Allen, Moisango, Evenhoven, Ekun, Kameyer, Hartley, Agarwal, Shamsai, Berger, Snyder, Momini, Nondal, James, Bailey, Johnson, Dugan, Neal, Sloop, Persley, Cronin. Going back to Utica. Perfect. And with that, we do have quorum for the evening. Next, we'll move into the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Sergeant at Arms. All right, so seeing no Senate program for this evening, we'll move directly into open forum. Open forum shall serve as an opportunity for students to speak about any issues relevant to the student body. If you're here tonight for open forum, I would ask that you approach the podium at this time. All right, and I would ask our senators to close or mostly close their laptops as a sign of respect to our speakers. And this time is yours.
Thank you. My name is Nathan Pick. I'm actually a professional staff member here with Rec Services. Representing our sport clubs, I'm here with DJ, who is our vice president of our sport club council and also vice president of the men's hockey program. We saw last week at your meeting that you had a first read of the priorities and criteria document, and we're here to ask for some reconsideration of that document on how student government funds not just sport clubs, but clubs in general. Myself as a representative of clubs is going to basically talk to you about sport clubs. First, sport clubs has about 39 different clubs. Student government funds are right around $150,000 last fiscal year. But total expenses for all our sport clubs was right around $750,000. And there are several items on your P's and C's document that would greatly help reduce costs for all these clubs. We're not looking for a handout because these clubs have significant dues. They go out and fundraise significant events, obviously have to make up over $600,000 collectively for all their expenses. But there are some certain areas that we would want you to consider prior to unanimously consenting this document tonight, whether it's a conversation here in the room or we are open to having conversations in the future before this passes. The things that we're looking to consider that are currently not student government fund eligible is building rentals. Our ICE fees are around $260 an hour that the two hockey programs use. Our tennis club no longer has a facility on campus to use, so they're out renting facilities. So it would be a big benefit for those clubs to have that option out there. Rec Services generally can take care of a lot of clubs, but there are some that we're not able to provide for. The second one is with a lot of these clubs, we travel over 180 times collectively. We host another 150 events. As you can imagine, those costs add up fairly quickly. Lodging specifically is one that would significantly help a lot of these clubs. The second one that we're looking for is food on these trips to provide possible meals for overnight travel, weekend travel, that kind of stuff. We're also referees, judges, athletic trainers, that kind of stuff that are required for all these sporting events is another huge help. That is a big cost that I think DJ will tell you they pay probably around $500 per game for 3 or 4 referees to come do their games. So it's a significant expense that would really help them out. And finally, there's non-eligible expenses is uniforms, and all of our clubs are required to have uniforms. And I think with all these things, we could work with stipulations. A lot of these P's and C's have stipulations on them regarding cap amounts or certain stipulations. If the club is giving uniforms at the end of the season to their players, then I wouldn't say that's an eligible expense. But if the club is planning to reuse these uniforms year after year, they are fairly expensive depending on how big the club is, and we would like for that to be considered as an eligible expense. So like I said, we would like you to consider those as you talk about this document here later in the meeting. But that's me coming from professional staff representing these students and working with these students and seeing what the struggles are. One final thing that I wanted to mention also is a lot of the student government money that these clubs receive is for travel, and it pays about a third of their mileage. And the biggest gripe that we get as we work with clubs is the line item transfers. The process that we have to go through to have a club in February know what they're going to travel all the next year is almost impossible at times because people host different tournaments and all that kind of stuff. What we collectively would like to see, or see if it's a possibility, is get rid of line item specific travel and just allow us to submit a total number of miles that they think they're going to travel on a year, and then they deduct from that travel. And we can put where we think we're going to go, but I just wonder if student government cares if we we're going 250 miles to Chicago and then we change because there's snow and we want to go 250 miles over to Lincoln, Nebraska instead. Is there really that much of a difference in having to go through the request line item transfer and that whole process versus just having a lump sum of mileage that we think we're gonna travel? So with that, I'm going to turn over to DJ. He's going to talk more about the student aspect and how it would affect students as a member of the club himself, but also representing the other 39 clubs for Sport Club Council.
Thanks for having me tonight, guys. I just want to start by saying I think we have a pretty rich history here at Iowa State and a pretty awesome opportunity to compete at pretty high levels as far as sports clubs are concerned. I know hockey specifically has a very rich history. We were founded in 1967 and have played every year but one since then. I know that all 39 clubs struggle with finances in general, but I can speak on hockey very specifically. This year we've spent almost $8,500 on refs, another $15,000 on food for away trips that we are required to pay for, close to $20,000 on lodging. If we take vans to a Minot trip, that might cut costs a little bit here or there, but for the most part, we're cutting costs everywhere we possibly can, and we're still, seems like we're swimming pretty heavily. We've worked every basketball game concessions we can, and on top of all of that, our team pays around $100,000 in dues out of pocket per year, which only covers half of our $200,000 operating budget. Like I said, I know that hockey is not the only team that struggles with this or club that struggles with this, but it would definitely help a lot if there was a better way to be able to come to you guys and ask for help, or a way to kind of just something to keep us in the loop or keep you in the loop to have your finger on the pulse, because you guys can only change what you know, right? And that's why we're here today. So I implore you to listen to us here and give us an opportunity to change your mind. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And we will have an opportunity as well. This item is second on our agenda for a more in-depth discussion on PNC as well. So with that, is there anyone else here tonight for open forum? Seeing no one else, with that, we'll move into adopting this evening's agenda. Are there any amendments before we do so? Starting with Speaker Momini.
25-3-006F to the bottom of new business.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to add item 006F to the bottom of new business. Are there any objections? Seeing none, it shall be added. Any further amendments to the agenda as a whole? Is there a second? Moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, it shall be adopted. With that, we'll move into approving the previous minutes from last Senate. Is there a motion to do so? Is there a second? Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the minutes shall be approved. Moving then into committee reports, starting with the Rules Committee and Speaker Momini.
Hello, everyone. Rules Committee will meet on Thursday and every following Thursday other than spring break, of course, in 3310 of the Memorial Union at 520. If you'd like to come, you're welcome to do so. You will be seeing 2 people sat to rules, if you all please. They were sent favorably, and tomorrow we will be working on chapters 1 and 2 of the bylaws. Then just as a heads up, in case anybody was curious, we will be presenting our revised bylaws as a whole at the end of the session or close to the end of the session. So we won't be doing it in small parts, but rather one large document for you all to review. And I think that's really all I got.
With that, the floor is open for any questions or comments for the Rules Committee. Seeing none, we'll then move on to Finance.
Good evening, all. As you know, you guys have seen the agenda for the past few weeks. We'll be seeing the PNC document tonight. I'm looking forward to some good debate and discussion over that. The Finance Committee has put in some really good work over that the past few weeks. On top of that, we will also be seeing the Puerto Rican Student Association is here with us tonight, and we'll be hearing from them about their funding requests.
Are there any questions for the Finance Committee? Seeing none, we'll then move on to the PR Committee.
How's it going, everyone? Thank you for all those who participated in the Club Fest. We did a great job with the limited amount of people that showed up to the Club Fest. I believe we got another 30 signatures, so looking out to send some more emails to them. Also, we promoted the parking relief program pretty heavily, so there was a lot of people that signed up for that as well. We have an episode, the first episode of the new podcast coming out this week. So that's going to be coming out on the same YouTube channel that all the Senate hearings are posted. So stay on the lookout for that. And then also PR just finished the brand guide. We've been working pretty hard on that. And yeah, we're going to be finalizing that very soon and hopefully presenting it to all you guys in the next couple weeks. So thank you.
With that, the floor is open. Seeing no questions, we'll move on to IDEA.
Hi guys. So you saw it. We're looking for an IDEA director. If you are interested, please contact Queen and Martin. We have our meeting Saturday at 11 in the morning if anyone wants to show up. And we made great advance in the town hall planning, so yeah.
Are there any questions for IDEA? Seeing none, next up is events.
All right, hey everybody. We are so excited to have the Know Your Leader series start next Tuesday at 6 p.m. in Carver 101. We still need help for next Tuesday, as well as the 18th and the 25th. I would love if you could sign up, come support us. Monet and I and our committee have spent a lot of time planning these and reaching out to different community members that we feel could give you all some good knowledge that they have. So those are all 6 p.m. each Tuesday in February. The sign up is in the MIS. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We would love to answer them. We would love to have you there, or your clubs or friends or anyone there. Thank you.
With that, the floor is open. Seeing no questions for events, we'll move on to local affairs.
Hi, everyone. Local Affairs has been working on some ongoing projects in the past 2 weeks, and today we're working on finalizing the joint meeting agenda. So another request for any subjects you guys want to see or any topics you want to discuss, please reach out to me, send me an email or a Teams message, and that would be great. And this evening, we're seating one senator to our committee. She's already showed a lot of dedication to local affairs, and we're excited to have her officially on board. Additionally, we reviewed the asset allocations, which you'll see later on tonight. We're trying to get this process finalized as quickly as possible. Not to say don't review it and understand it, but there's a possibility that if we get first read and second read done by next week, that council could see it by our next meeting, which would be great. And this would help us support the Ames ISU community more effectively. Also, if you drive down Lincoln Way going west a little bit, you'll see progress on the Fitch Family Aquatic Center. So if you want like specific construction updates on that, I can tell you, but it's looking really good and we're pretty excited about that.
Are there any questions or comments for the Local Affairs Committee? Seeing none, we'll then move on to sustainability.
Hi, everyone. Not too many updates from us this week. We've pretty much just been getting going, restarting up on all of our projects. You'll see a lot of Green Initiatives funds applications come through the Finance Committee, and I'll be able to give you all a bunch of updates on that prior to spring break. And then also Sustainapalooza. That is going to be in February, I believe, February 24th. It's going to be in the MU from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. If you're interested in volunteering, that'd be great. If not, feel free to come and check it out because there's going to be a lot of fun, free stuff. That's it.
With that, the floor is open. Seeing no questions, we'll then move on to health and wellness.
Hey guys, we met yesterday for the first time this semester. It was great to see everybody back. They're really excited to be back, so it was good to hear from them and how their break was. We did a lot of talking about woofs and wellness. I think I mentioned last Senate that we do have the dogs reserved already March 7th from 1 to 3, so we're just kind of looking for a place to now host the event. The library did get back to us about the place that we were looking at, the room in the library, and they said it is not going to be available when we want to have the event. So now we're going to be looking for places inside the MU or maybe outside the lawn at the library. That'll be a great place, I think, too. So yeah, we're just kind of looking for some updates on that, but that's all I have for now.
Once again, the floor is open for questions or comments. Seeing none, we'll move on then to the legislative ambassadors.
Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. Legislative ambassadors went down to the Capitol for the first time on Tuesday, so it was a wonderful time going down there. We got 3 meetings done and out of the way, and we heard a lot of very good things about us and our priorities for this year. So definitely people that are excited about our priorities, continuing to get ready for Big 12 on the Hill, which is coming up here in just a few short weeks, and then legislative ambassadors will meet next Thursday at 5 p.m. in Jardine 2128. So,
any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll then move into that other category. This is an opportunity to speak about any committees that are not otherwise being represented on tonight's agenda. Seeing no miscellaneous updates, we'll move into comments from the judicial branch. Seeing none, we'll move into comments from our advisor. Also seeing none, we'll move into comments from our executive branch with President Hirsch.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a lot of comments for you guys today. I just have a couple of kind of key updates. I know I spoke about this at the last Senate meeting, but again, please RSVP for our 2025 inauguration. That was all sent out in the that was all the information there sent out in the email that you guys got for me. And then also apply for the task force on affordability. That's a big deal for us. Bob Carver's great leadership there, and we're working to see how we can combat some of the cost of going to college. And then just, again, being involved in what Colby has going on with attending the Iowa State Capitol, that's great to get representation there, not just from cabinet members, members of the committee, but also senators as well. We know that's a really big deal for us. So thank you, guys.
Are there any questions or comments for the executive branch? Seeing none, we'll move finally into comments from the Election Commission. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. As you might know, today is the last day to turn in your statement of intent. So we extended the deadline from 5 p.m. today to just midnight tonight. If you still want to run but have not met with me to get the presentation on running for Senate, you can do so after Senate. We'll find a space to talk about it. So there's a couple people that need to talk to me. So if you're one of those people, we'll talk after Senate, but if you have already met with me and don't have your statement of intent in, please get that in by tonight. We won't extend it further. Thanks, guys.
With that, are there any questions for the commission? Seeing none, we'll move into our business for this evening, starting first with External Matter 2025-3-001F, Puerto Rican Night event funding with Senator Kammeier.
Sorry, the back of that just fell off. So we saw this on first read last week, and then we went through it again in finance, passed it favorably, and we have a speaker here to talk about it.
So I'm Narmaliz Morera. I'm the president of the PRSA. Puerto Rican Cultural Night is an event that has become a tradition since Puerto Rican Club started, and we just bring food and music, and it's really just to bring everyone together for a night where we can just enjoy talking to each other. Everyone gets so busy with school and just forget to talk to people. So for this event specifically, we're requesting funding for our DJ, a photo booth, and the MU reservation. This year we normally don't have the MU reservation fees because there's a lot of things discounted, but this year we added a couple things just to make the event come together and be a little more formal than it's been the past years.
All right, and so with that, the floor is open for discussion. I don't know who made that motion. If you'd like to withdraw, we can let Senator Snyder. Senator Snyder.
As far as I can tell, this just says at some point in February. At what, do you have a specific date picked out already?
Yes, so it's gonna be next Saturday. We have a date, so it's Saturday the 8th of February, and it's gonna be from 5 to 11 p.m. here in the MU.
And Senator Kammeier, I assume you take that as a friendly.
Yes.
Perfect.
That was a weird echo, sorry.
Speaker Momini.
I just have a follow-up. Did you say 5 to 11 or 5 to 10?
5 to 11.
And then the room in the MU, do you know?
It's gonna be just the Great Hall, and we are gonna have the back room open for just the dinner, and then they're gonna close it after that.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, with that, is there any further discussion? Is there moved and seconded to end debate at this time? Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments with Senator Kammeier.
Yeah, the bill should be updated fully soon once we get the ZIA, the memorial. But yeah, I think that this is a really good event. I don't know. I thought I had something more well thought out to say. Anyway, vote however you want.
All right. And so with that, this is a finance bill, so we'll move directly into a roll call vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or of course you may abstain. Starting with Senator Moran. Yes. Rahman. Yes. Rolls. Yes. Reinhardt. Yes. Marcus. Yes. Jones. Yes. Pelzer. Yes. O'Connor. Yes. Shin. Yes. Utica. Yes. Palin. Yes. Moisango. Yes. Nievenhoven. Kekun. Yes. Kammeier. Yes. Hartley. Yes. Agarwal. Yes. Shamsai. Yes. Verriger. Yes. Snyder. Yes. Momini. Yes. Nondal. Yes. James. Yes. Bailey. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Dugan. Yes. Neal. Yes. Sloop. Yes. Pursley. Yes. And Cronin. Yes. right, and so with a final vote of 30 to 0, congratulations, the motion carries. Speaker Momini. Oh, it's for the bill. Fair enough. With that, we'll move into item 2025, if I can actually read the title on there. Item 2025-3-003F, considering the priorities and criteria document for FY26 with Senator Nievenhoven.
Hi, everybody. So we are introducing our PNC tonight. Looking at it, we made it a little bit longer just so it's easier to read. It was kind of jam-packed with words before, so we spread everything out so everyone can read it. And then we focused on student organizations and kind of removing what our committee thought was unnecessary roadblocks to fund them. So as you go through, you can see some of those on there. Let us know if you...
Starting with Speaker Momini.
I would like to address some of the concerns that we heard in open forum. So I think my first question, obviously I'm not a PNC pro, so I'd like to ask Finance Director, why sports clubs, and this is probably in there, but if you could just let us know, why sports clubs don't get room reservation or building rentals, but other clubs do? What the specific reason for that is?
Yep, and I appreciate the comments that the representatives for sports clubs made tonight. And it's not, we don't fund lodging or hotels for any funding eligible group. As my time as finance director, I've never funded a lodging for a group. As you can see, if you scroll into the funding ineligible section, you'll see lodging is on there. And that's not an addition that we made this year. That's something that's been on there as long as I've been involved with the Finance Committee. It's right above office supplies there. And that applies to all funding eligible groups. We don't distinguish between them or discriminate between them. And what was the other part of your question?
So, like the bill that we just seen for the rental of the MU, was that just because it was on campus?
Yeah, so there's also a exception there.
If rentals are on campus are inadequate
Correct.
or insufficient, gotcha.
Yep. And that applies to sports clubs as well. And we do, I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment, but there are, thank you to the Finance Committee aiding me here. This year, tennis club, you guys remember earlier this year, you guys funded the tennis club specifically because the tennis courts on campus were not available for them. I think they said that Iowa State was getting rid of them completely. So we funded them to rent courts for Ames High School. Mm-hmm. So there are exceptions that we do make and that are built into the document.
And is it feasible or possible to reconsider some of the ineligible items that we have or to make more exceptions?
Sure. That's during the process that the Finance Committee just had reviewing the priorities and criteria document. We talked extensively about the list up there, and we had a conversation about each and every single one of them. This year we didn't add any. If you do notice, we actually clarified one of them up there. We added a definition for decorations. We understand that something like that could be applied very broadly. So we wanted to make it very narrow to make sure that these things up here aren't unnecessary roadblocks for groups when they apply for funding.
All right, and then I just have one more question. Did you hear from any specific clubs or representatives while you guys were considering PNC about concerns that they have?
Did not hear we didn't have any clubs reach out, so we didn't hear from anyone.
Thank you, I yield.
Senator Snyder.
I believe you said during your tenure as finance director, Director Martinez, that lodging had never been brought up as having a place on the ineligible list. And you said you discussed with the Finance Committee the reasoning and for each of them. I'd love to hear, as a member of a club who does have trouble with lodging costs, I'd love to hear just your thought process on that, or maybe I can yield time to some of the other Finance Committee.
Sure. Is it directed to me? Yeah. Like I said, lodging, number one, it's been on there since my time as finance director. And we have seen it come through, but we haven't ever funded it. So when a bill hits you guys to vote here, it's oftentimes an amended version of the bill. The Finance Committee sees it through the committee, and we sift through all the things that are funding ineligible. So I believe we have seen some funding requests for lodging this year, but we sift through that. It's obviously funding ineligible, so we get rid of it. And really the thought process is that not every group on campus is requesting funds for lodging. It's a small portion of groups, or at least that we've seen. I guess a lot of the athletic clubs might say that they might find use out of lodging, but we haven't found a reason to fund them. I mean, it's been on there. We didn't think of a reason this year that we might think that we need to get rid of it.
It's still yours. If it is such a small percentage of clubs that are requesting funding for lodging, there must be a case to be made to take it off the funding ineligible list, no?
Sure, and I say that as in we have had a small amount of requests, but then I understand that the sports clubs might find use of it. So if that weren't on there, maybe we'd have a larger request of them. And again, I would like to point out that sports clubs make up a large portion of the money that we allocate. So a lot of sports clubs, like any other organization, we try to make sure that we're able to fund them for as much as we can. And sports clubs take a lot of the allocation that we do is to sports clubs. I'm sure you can ask any of the members of finance here today. Most of the clubs that we do see throughout the year and in annual allocations are sports clubs.
And yes, 100%. And as a member of a sports club, and as a member of a sports club who traveled extensively this year and had to pay a lot of out-of-pocket costs for lodging, the argument is you're just saying it's been on there for a while as a reasoning. I don't really see that as justified. I'll yield time to Samantha if she likes to speak.
Go ahead. Well, I guess I'll finish my point here. Yes, it's been on there for a while, and I think it's more to the fact that it's just something that we think is equitable for all students, because not every student is involved in a club where they have the opportunity to travel and request funds for lodging. And as we all know, lodging is a big expense. So while there are a lot of groups that come in, or sports club groups that come in, we also like to think of all the other groups on campus. I guess that's kind of the thought process. Did you want to yield time to?
All right. Vice Speaker Persley.
Yeah, I'm just mostly curious about the referee, umpire, judge, instructor question. I feel like that is something that could be really relevant to a lot of clubs, not even just sports clubs, but judges and instructors for different kinds of clubs. I'm just curious why that is, why you guys put that on the funding eligible. Well, I know it's probably been on there beforehand, like you didn't add that to the list, but I'm curious why it is on there in the first place.
Sure, and you're correct. That's not an addition. That's just something that we've kept from previous years. And the idea is that we don't want to pay a salary for a group or a wage for a group. That's just something that student government has expected the group to cover themselves.
Senator Kameyer.
I guess I'll just make this kind of quick, and Finance Director Martinez has kind of brought this up, but we did, especially on ineligible expenditures, we went down like every single one of them and more or less like had a vote, like, do we want to keep this? Do we want to amend it in any way? And like for all of them, it was essentially unanimous. The decorations, we added a just asterisk next to it, and we made it easier to read as well. But I would just say generally, and especially when it comes to building rentals, sometimes that can be like a little confusing, but just like making the requests, and we can have the ability to go through it in finance, and maybe there is more of it that we can pay for just through the present declaration. Thank you.
Speaker Momini.
All right, so I don't want to dismiss the voices of the people that we represent. Obviously, I'm sure that in every single one of our constituencies, we have a student who is affected by funding ineligible things. I have a question to the Finance Committee because I understand this is your guys' document. It's like the bylaws to rules. How would you guys feel about possibly tabling this for a little bit and opening up to the clubs that have applied or have previously applied and giving them time for input on things that they would like to change or be able to change? I just want to know your guys' thought process and something like a process like that, if that would even be feasible for you guys.
So as far as kind of echoing, we have annual allocations coming up, and we need to get the PNC through to be able to fund student organizations, a timetable that we have. Yeah, I yield to the Finance Director.
Yeah, I'm just going to relay what she said. We totally would consider bringing this back. I think maybe it's a good conversation that we could include you guys in. I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughtful insight that would be valuable to the edit of this document. But I will say is, per the bylaws, we have to introduce the annual allocation, or the big picture bill, which is essentially the conclusion of annual allocations by, I think it's the first meeting in March or something like that. And as we have the timeline at the moment, delaying this would delay that. So if you guys do send this back to finance, which is totally cool with us, just consider that you might have to waive that bylaw because it might push us back a week at least.
Okay, so with that, I just still want to put it out there that this does affect people that we represent. There are ways for us to get around bylaws, as we know. I'm also not 100% sure on how much fun that would be for the Finance Committee, because I know annual allocations is a very long process. So with that, I yield.
No? All right. With that, the floor is open for any further discussion. Oh, Snyder, I apologize.
Despite what Speaker Momini said, I'm going to make a motion to table this bill for 1 week, send it back to Finance. I'd love to get more introduction for this process. I know you guys worked hard for it, but I really think we need to go over a couple of things. Just because it has precedent doesn't mean it belongs. So I'm going to make a motion to table this bill for 1 week.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to table for 1 week. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objection. Pardon me? All right, do you wish to state the nature of your objection?
Like I said, I think that we went through this thoroughly. I understand the concerns that were brought up, but I do think that we have I'm not really sure if there's going to be that many changes, if any, if we go through it again, but I will just put that out there, and I'm guessing this is going to go to a vote.
All right, and so I'll give either of you the opportunity to withdraw. If not, we'll move into discussion on tabling. All right, with that, the floor is open for discussion on whether or not to table this bill, starting with Senator Rolls.
I do get that you guys put a lot of effort into it. It was a very strenuous effort, but being in rules, I also kind of have that. We also get experience to that with the bylaws. And yes, everybody in the committee goes through the entire document multiple times. It's almost to the point where you come blind to all the words in there. But there's kind of a reason why we bring it to Senate, is so everybody else can look at it. And so we can get another set of eyes to make sure that we didn't miss anything or there isn't something that we need to change. With that being said, yeah, there might not be a lot of changes, but I don't see a lot of harm in taking a little extra look with bringing some clubs or extra knowledge into account with that. Thank you, I yield.
Senator Jones.
I will say we have looked at this document very, very, very thoroughly. We've gone over it multiple times. And I think what's in the document sets a precedent, and we have considered all of, everything we've gone through it, and I think it's the best fit for what we have here. I don't know what much to say, but we've gone through it very, very thoroughly. I will assure you guys that.
Senator Moisongo.
Yeah, as Senator Jones was saying, we really looked into this thoroughly. Major concerns are on the clubs that had like concerns with our budgets. So as we were passing some bills and as we were seeing some people coming into finance, we were taking note of their concerns. And when we made this document, we tried to make sure that all concerns were cleared. And there are some issues that we cannot really clear up because of, we are working on a limited budget. So once we remove some things on the ineligibility criteria, we definitely have more clubs coming for funding for those things. And if we are offering some clubs the same funding for that specific line item, we cannot deny the other clubs those same funding line item. I think also that if we have any issues with what's on the bill right now, I think we can discuss it in Senate right now rather than making it to next week. Then we just give US Finance Committee all the reasoning why those things are funding ineligible as of now, rather than making it to next week. I yield.
Speaker Momini.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Senator Moisongo just said. I know that when Finance Committee was reviewing this, I'm sure that the issue of that was brought up at open forum wasn't prevalent, wasn't a thought in people's minds since, I mean, I wasn't aware, and if the club hadn't come and talked to you before, then you guys weren't aware either. I think that it would be worth maybe a little bit of time to talk about editing the document now instead of sending it back for a week and then having to postpone the big picture bill. Rather than table it, we could open the floor for amendments and discussion.
All right, with that, the floor is open for any further discussion specifically on the motion to table this bill. Seeing none without objection, we'll move into a vote then on whether or not to table this bill. All right. So unless there are objections, I'll do this as a placard vote. Voting yes to table this bill for 1 week, voting no, or of course, roll call vote has been called for. So that we'll move into a roll call vote. Please let me know yes, no, or abstain if you'd like to table this bill for a week, starting with Senator Moran. Yes. Rahman. Rolls. Reinhardt. Marcus. No. Jones. Yes. Just for clarity, that was a yes to table the bill? All right. Pelzer. Yes. O'Connor. No. Shin. Yes. Utica. No. Palin. Yes. Moisongo. No. Nievenhoven. Yes. Kekun. Kameyer. Yes. Hartley. Yes. Agarwal. Yes. Shamsai. Yes. Verriger. Snyder. Yes. Momini. Nondal. Yes. James. Yes. Bailey. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Dugan. Yes. Neal. Yes. Sloop. Yes. Persley. No. Cronin. Yes. Moving back to rolls. Verriger. Yes. And Momini. Abstain. With that, have I hit everyone on the roll? 1 second while we tally that. All right, and so with a final vote of 21 to 6 to 3, this bill will be tabled for 1 week. All right, so with that, we'll next move into special orders, starting first with item 2025-3-001SC, executive nomination for nonprofit coordinator with Speaker Momini.
All right, so as this bill suggests, our previous nonprofit coordinator, Mindy, is regrettably graduating. Well, she's not regrettably graduating, but regrettably going to be focusing on graduating, and we will miss her dearly, but I'm going to open the floor for the new nomination for the nonprofit coordinator.
And this time is yours if you'd like to introduce yourself or share anything with the Senate.
Of course. So, hello everybody. My name is Suryansh Mishra. Some of you guys may know me as Sir, S-U-R, if that's easier to pronounce. I'm a junior in environmental engineering with a minor in English, and I've been in multiple different roles working with different nonprofits. Most notably, I work with the Honors Student Board as the philanthropy co-chair, serving the wonderful honors community of students here on campus, setting charity events. I've also gone on 3 different alternative break trips. I've worked with the nonprofit Protege program twice, serving as a mentee under different mentorship for ACPC, as well as CCJ, which are 2 local nonprofits. That is why I believe I'm standing here to serve as nonprofit coordinator.
All right, thank you. And with that, the floor is open for discussion, starting with Senator Snyder.
I'd like to yield time to
I just want to say, hello. I just want to say really quick, I work with Sir in the Honors Student Board. They seriously could not have picked a better person. He is wonderful, so hardworking, charismatic, will get the job done. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that he is literally the perfect pick.
All right, with that, the floor is open for further discussion with Speaker Momini.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, since nonprofit coordinator does a lot with asset, if you have any experience with asset or asset-like procedures and processes.
I will be completely honest, financials are not really my thing, but I've worked extensively within multiple different boards. I've been prepped on how ACID works through Mindy, Quinn, and Martin, and I'm willing to learn. I'm a quick learner. I run quick on my feet. I know that ACID is a quite large allocation, but I'm willing to learn, and with the guidance of Mindy and the other staff here, I'm pretty sure I can learn the ins and outs of ACIDs quite fast.
All right, thank you for that answer. And I, in your introduction, heard that you have quite a lot of experience with nonprofits. Would you say that you have developed a good sense of judgment and being able to decide and also tell people the decisions on why or why not they may have received or not received funding?
Yeah, so the question of funding, as we just saw right now, is often very difficult, but I do understand, and I have a big heart with a lot of compassion to understand why certain groups may want to receive funding while other certain groups may not. But I do understand that in moments where tough decisions need to be made and allocations need to be set, I can thoroughly communicate with different groups on as to why they did get funding versus did not get funding.
Thank you for that. I yield.
Senator Rolls.
Well, I've heard a lot about you through Mindy, so I've heard nothing but good things, I promise. And I just kind of wanted to kind of tell everybody, through just like meetings I've had, just kind of talking about you, I've heard a lot about your dedication, and prior to actually Mindy accepting the role of nonprofit coordinator, you were the other candidate they had, and now that Mindy's leaving, you had the thing that you wanted to come back and do the role. So I feel like that shows a lot about your character and your dedication towards this role. And I mean, I've been on the assets team for 2 years, officially just 1 year, but I followed Mindy the year prior. But it's really unique to get to be part of the assets process and get to learn how funding works in an actual governmental setting. And it's really enlightening and a nice experience. So I can't wait to work with you. Thank you.
All right, with that, the floor is open for any further discussion. One of those a second? Moved and seconded. I believe that became a second there. Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments with Speaker Mominy. Seeing no closing comments, we'll move into a vote. Unless there are objections, I'll do this as a placard vote. So you'll be able to vote once again yes, no, or you'll be able to abstain on this candidate. All of those in favor? All right, those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, and so with a final vote of 29 to 0 to 1, congratulations, the motion carries. Thank you. With that, next we'll move on to item 2025-3-002 SG, seating a senator to the Rules Committee with Senator Agarwal. Who is also the candidate being sat.
I expressed interest in joining Rules Committee last semester, but the timings for PR and Rules were the same. So now that they don't have colliding timings, I would like to be a part of Rules.
And with that, the floor is open for any discussion. Senator Palin.
I just have a question about the bill itself, how it's written. It says in the title 002 SG, and on the bill it says 003 SG.
Yeah, I don't have editing access when you guys send me your bills to the titles, so I just make sure the numbers are right. So if Raj would take that as a friendly once he gets back to his computer.
So just for clarity, which one is the correct numbering?
003 is the correct number.
And I assume, Senator Agarwal, you take that as a friendly? Fantastic.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Hold on one second. Moved and seconded. Closing comments with Senator Agarwal. No closing comments. UC has been called for somewhere, I believe. Am I right about that? Perfect. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this nominee by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations. The motion carries. Next, we'll see item 2025-3-004 SG, seating a senator to the Rules Committee with Senator Kammeier.
Okay, so just for opening statement, I'm going to say that this bill, for a seating bill, looks terrifying because it waives 2 bylaws, but I promise everyone it's fine. I believe the senator is here and he will be at the podium shortly. Somewhat similar to Senator Agarwal. Sorry, Quinn's losing it. I love it. The timing for Rules Committee, unfortunately, last semester didn't quite work for me, but this semester, I guess my schedule is more open because the timing works. They're working on a huge bylaw review, which I know is going to take time, and I want to participate and help out in that.
All right, flawless introduction. Floor is open, starting with Speaker Mominy.
All right, Joe, I just want to give you guys a little bit of background on the 2 bylaw waves. So obviously, the first one is because Rules has a cap for 5 senators, but we are also the only committee that doesn't have at-larges. So there's not another number that you guys need to factor in there. Towards the end of our terms, it's pretty common, at least in my time here, for Rules to waive that cap to make sure that the senior members of Rules who may be either not coming back or graduating like I am have the chance to pass on any knowledge or expertise that they have to those new members of Rules. And it's also just nice because usually also towards the ends of our terms we do a bylaw revision, and this year we are really revising the bylaws. So I just want to make sure that Rules has a good founding and footing, and since Senate is more full it will be nice to have more input, especially as we make those big changes to the bylaws. So with that, I yield.
Senator Hartley.
To basically reiterate everything that Mamani just said, I really think having another set of eyes on these bylaw revisions would be very helpful, just as we are doing such an extensive review and some changes. So, and I think no would be great.
With that, the floor is open for any further discussion or questions. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Closing comments with Senator Kammeier. All right. With no closing comments, UC has been called for. Back at the podium. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this nominee by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations, the motion carries. And finally, we'll look at item 2025-3-005 SG, seating a senator to local affairs with Senator Agarwal.
I was given this bill by Alex, or Senator Mamani, and from what I've heard, the senator has been attending their meetings and would be a good addition to local affairs.
It was a really awkward walk-up. I'm not as interesting as Senator Kammeier. I've had the privilege of attending the past few local affairs committee meetings, and I already knew how much work that they do, especially with the joint meeting that we have with City Council, but seeing them rev back up for that again and all the work they do to try and get us connected with the Ames community, I think is really good and something I want to be involved in. I've dedicated my academic career to working with local communities, so I'd love to be able to use my position as a senator to do that for student government and for us as students.
All right, with that, the floor is open for discussion. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to end discussion. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, closing comments with Senator Agarwal. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this nominee by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations, the motion carries. With that, we'll move into our new business items for this evening, starting first with item 2025-3-004F, Ghana Students Association event funding with Senator Kammeier.
Sorry, I keep getting worried that the mic is gonna fall apart on itself. So this is the first of two just first reads for finance bills before we get to asset. We'll go through this in Finance Committee on Friday, but essentially this was the latest funding request from the Ghana Students Association, and it looks pretty good in terms of their wants and like trying to promote their own organization as well as events that they have in the future. If you have any questions, let me know.
With that, the floor is open for questions of intent, starting with Speaker Momini.
Are gifts a funding eligible item?
No.
Only one?
Senator Agarwal.
Are transportation costs funding eligible? Okay.
Vice Speaker Pursley.
Are souvenirs considered as gifts?
Yes.
All right. With that, are there any further questions of intent? Did you ask a question of intent? It is one, but someone would be able to yield you one. Senator Rolls, there you go.
Do we have a representative from this organization here today?
At point of information, it's first read.
I'm going to take that as a no. All right.
Sorry.
With that, any further questions of intent? Were you wishing to ask a second question, or just for clarification? Any further questions of intent? Seeing none, this item will return next week. We'll move on to item 2025-3-005F, funding for the VexU Cyber Robotics Club 2 with Senator Kammeier.
Hi, everyone, again. Just a reminder with these, this is first read. Then it goes to finance, and we go through and sift out things like gifts, souvenirs, like things that are funding ineligible expenses. Then when you see them again on second read, those are gone. Anyway, this one is called 2 because it's the second request from this organization. So it's the sequel bill. Anyway, I believe the president of this organization used to be a part of student government. He's somewhere in this room. But yeah, this one, it's travel cost for their competitions, and I will take that as a friendly.
Beat me to it. And with that, the floor is open for questions of intent. If Senator Agarwal has something. All right, any questions of intent? Seeing none, this item will return next week. And we'll now look at item 2025-3-006F, adopting the FY25 to 26 Asset Analysis of Social Services Evaluation Team allocations with Senator Rolls.
Hello, everybody. This is our asset bill. It's, well, three people's bread and butter. Me, former nonprofit coordinator, and our former Senator Pedisani over there. I'm the last one. Hopefully I'm not next. Do you have access to the bill? No? God damn it. Sorry. Is it the spreadsheet? Okay. So these are all of our numbers. These are all the nonprofits that we saw through the assets meetings, and these are the amounts that, well, you can't see the formula's a little whacked at the bottom, but we pretty much allocated all of our money except for $2,975. That won't leave our account at all. It's just we'll take out what we allocated, so that money stays in there. There's no issues with that. And if you have any questions, feel free to look through it, and you can see it next week.
All right, with that, the floor is open for questions of intent, starting with Senator Kameyer.
I'll just say first, I hope you're not next. And then second, is that like leftover amount kind of like a typical like amount left over for asset?
What would you say, former nonprofit coordinator?
Apologies. When it comes to the allocations process for assets, sometimes we do have some left over. It just goes back to the same account, and you'll see it again next year. It's not like it's disappearing or anything. And yes, it can happen sometimes. Last year, I don't remember that. I don't believe we had any at all. The year before that, I would have to check the bills. But it can happen, and it does happen. So yes, it is normal.
All right, Speaker Momini.
Just the access thing, if this is not available to people outside of our organization, so the ISU email address, can you make sure that it is by next week? The sooner the better.
I'll fix it.
I yield.
All right. Any further questions of intent? Seeing none, this item will return next week. And so with that, to my knowledge, we've completed our items of business for this evening, and I'll open the floor for general closing announcements. All right, I'm assuming someone at the back tables would flag me, but we'll start with Senator Kameyer.
I'm sure Finance Director Martinez will probably say something similar, but if you have like any concerns with like PNC, like since we're going through them in finance again, we're gonna try and go through like every single detail again. And if there's anything that just like flags you, please let us know. Yeah, great meeting today.
FD Martinez.
Great conversations tonight. Really good debate. Like Senator Kameyer said, I'll echo that. If you guys want to stop by at Finance on Friday, we meet on Friday at 3:30. I invite any of you guys who want to stop by and listen to our conversation about PNC. Another reminder, again, another echo of Senator Kameyer. So when you see bills on first read, yes, like you guys caught a lot of those things tonight. They're obviously funding ineligible, but something we're trying to do this year is every request that comes in, no matter how obviously funding ineligible it is, we're going to give it its due process. We're going to let it come through finance, and we'll ask questions and sift through that. Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, any further general closing announcements? Seeing none, I don't have any too significant of updates for you all tonight. The two things I would echo that have already been said is from President Hirsch's email that was sent out right before the semester started. Please RSVP for inauguration, just so we have a sense of how many people are going to that. And in the same spirit, please fill out the form for our joint meetings. There's one form where you can RSVP both for our joint city council meeting and our joint faculty senate meeting. It's a little bit more urgent. The city council one's a little further out, but our faculty senate, I believe, is about 3 weeks away. And so it'd be great if we can know ahead of time how many folks are going to be at that so we can plan accordingly. So please take a moment after this, 30 seconds, and fill out that form for us. And with that, I don't have anything else that's urgent, and I'll yield to the Vice Speaker.
All right, everyone. Thanks to everyone who's done your office hours so far. Make sure to come to the office this week and do your office hours, and make sure to fill it out in the binder. I know I don't have the paper printed out super early in the morning on Mondays, but that's okay. You can just leave me a sticky note if it's not printed out by the time I get there on Monday. And thanks to everyone for coming to Club Fest and doing your outreach credits.
All right, first, and very importantly, and only to my UROC senators, please stay after so we can find a meeting time, because half of you did not fill out our when to meet. So if you are a UROC senator, stay, or I will call you out by name next meeting, and that will be embarrassing. Okay, moving on. Next week we'll have a program, so just put that on your guys' radar. And then the week after that, on February 12th, we will be having a working meeting to prepare for our joint faculty meeting. That will be from 5:20 to 5:50 p.m. That is mandatory. If you need a reminder of how many nonfeasances that will be, you can refer to our bylaws or the Welcome to Senate packet, whichever you prefer. Also, I would like to say thank you, because we have not, other than this meeting I haven't checked, we haven't gotten any nonfeasances for not showing up or showing up late or leaving early, because you guys have been doing a wonderful job of informing myself and the VP. Please continue to do that so you don't get nonfeasances. With that, motion to adjourn. Go Cyclones.
With that, we are adjourned. See you next week.